All right, and yourself?
I'm good. I's here. I is here.
Good.
How are things going?
Okay. No need
I feel
complaining.
like it's been forever.
Well, holidays do that.
It's like really, I feel like I'm missing everybody and everything and all of the things. Oh, but it seems like our world has been just popping, popping, right along.
Yep.
Right along. How was your holiday?
It was nice and quiet.
Nice and quiet. Those are the good ones. Those are the
Hmm.
good ones. Cool, cool, cool. All right. Well, let's get this party started today. Look, I got stuff all over the place. Can I just tell you, I just unpacked probably an hour ago.
I know what it's like. Look, sometimes unpacking is on an as-needed basis.
I just unpacked all the equipment. The
Oh,
suitcase is still packed. Unpacked all the equipment and like I'm looking like, okay, well, where is the stuff? Well, where is it? Wait a minute. I almost didn't get enough time to make my little tea. How we gonna do that? Gotta have tea.
okay.
Who does that on a Saturday morning tea? Okay. Well, welcome everybody to our Saturday morning tea. Here we brew up the hottest topics in healthcare. We discuss health information, news, education, certification tips, entrepreneurship, the holidays, uh, unpacking and not unpacking. That is the question. And the revenue cycle at large. And as you come in, don't forget to hit the thumbs up or like button. I'm Clarice Warner. I'm the Girl with the Pearls, the founder and senior education director of the Professional Reimbursement Network, LLC, where coding education is key. And PRN is a healthcare compliance consultancy located in Cincinnati, Ohio, that specializes in revenue cycle, regulatory compliance, and education. Now, let me ask you, do you know what it takes to be a certified, marketable medical coder? Well, before I introduce my co host, even though we've already been chopping it up, let me share with you information on a free, yes, free 99 email course on the 5 steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. Are you interested in medical coding, but not sure where to start and scared of wasting time and resources? Let me help you with the right steps to become a certified marketable medical coder. Learn more at bit.ly/5stepscoder. Hey. I missed that little beat there. That little catchy tune. So if you are interested in getting more information about the 5 steps to become a certified marketable medical coder, check out the video description for the link. So joining me today is my partner in success. Yes, my co-host, Mr. Jesse, the registered trademark. Put some respect on his name, the coding nurse. Sir, introduce yourself and tell the folks all about you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jesse. I live in Philadelphia. I have been in healthcare for a long time. In 2014, I transitioned away from the bedside into HIM, and during the pandemic in 2020, I created a company, the Coding Nurse LLC, where I help nurses and other people in healthcare with a clinical background transition into the wonderful world of HIM.
All right, all right. And how's that going for you?
It's coming along, you know.
Sir. It's coming along. It's coming along. Okay. All right. Let's see. Good morning. Our on the street correspondent, the crafty copy. Good morning.
Yes.
Good morning. How are you? How are you? We'll definitely jump into wonderful conversation in the meeting after the meeting. All right. All right. Well, um, before we jump in, let me remind you that you can join in and add to the conversation. Don't be shy. Your opinion matters and is welcomed here. because you all have something valuable to share. Use the chat, and if you have a question, only thing I ask is that you type Q first so that we know it's a question for us and we don't miss it. Because sometimes, y'all talk amongst yourselves, y'all have your own questions going on, y'all have all kinds of things happening in the chat. So for those who are just joining us or watching the replay, today we are talking about revenue cycle management analytics, coding's $1 million impact. But first, good morning, Dr. Jasmine. Good morning. But first,
Good morning.
let's have our church announcement, shall we? And let me just say this. So StreamYard done some things. They got all these other little buttons on the side. So now I'm playing which one is my button to do the things that I need to do? So bear with me today. I'm like, how y'all gonna change something overnight? But we missed a week, so maybe that's what happened. I don't know. But they changed some stuff. All right. Hey, look, were you on Johnny on the spot? I love it. As soon as that beat drop. I love it. Oh. Hey. That soothing little music right there. It soothes my soul. Always. All right. So first church announcement. I want to share. So I think I've talked about this before. I sit on a board. I sit on a few boards, but one of the boards that is near and dear to my heart here in Cincinnati is the Black Women Cultivating Change. And I sit on the board. I've been sitting on the board, I want to say a couple years now. And I received this little award that I got in the mail the other day. It's so cute. Oh, it's so cute. It says,
Congratulations.
Thank you for your contributions to Black Women Cultivating Change. And this is awarded to Clarice Warner. And it's really cute. It has their little logo. It's real cute. I had to put something behind it because it's clear.
Oh,
you wouldn't be able to see it. So I had to put something behind it. But this is really cute. Thank you. I love it. It's like, oh, it feels like Christmas. It feels like Christmas. And then the other thing that I saw, this foolishness. So in the medical economics online publication, there was an article that says, are hospitals upcoding patients to boost revenue? I was like, oh my God, is this what we doing at the end of the year? Getting ready for the new year? And this author is Todd Schrock, somebody like that. I hate to butcher people's names, but he's the one that posted this article. And pretty much it says that, we'll get into that. It says hospitals increase their documentation of high intensity care by 19, leading to billions in extra payments. It also says that upcoding practices resulted in $14.6 billion in additional payments in 2019, and with $5.8 billion from private plans and $4.6 billion from Medicare. And it says that there was a RAND study that showed, they looked at 5 different states over a decade and found that hospitals have increased how frequently they document patients as needing the highest intensity care leading to billions in extra payments from health plans and government programs. And the original study, or the entire study, I guess, was published in the Journal of Health Affairs. The researchers pretty much said they were adjusting for changes in patient demographics, pre-existing comorbidities, length of stay, and hospital characteristics. And researchers estimated that the increase would have been 13% in the absence of changes in the coding behavior. It says the findings add to the evidence that hospital may move patients into the highest billing category in order to increase the amount they are paid for patient care. This suggests that government programs and private payers are paying billions more each year than what would be expected based on historical rates. I'm like, okay. And then these researchers say that further research is needed to increase understanding of the proportion of upcoding that represents fraudulent coding practices versus accurate and more complete coding. Let's see, the condition with the largest number of upcoded discharges was heart failure and shock, with an additional 27% of all heart failure and shock discharges being upcoded in 2019 compared with 2011. Other illnesses with large increases in upcoding were simple pneumonia and pleurisy, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, septicemia, or severe sepsis without mechanical ventilation for 96 hours or more, and bronchitis and asthma. So I thought this was real interesting, and I've been waiting to see, I'm still waiting to see some more, or a study of some sort around the new evaluation and management changes, and how that outcome is impacting upcoding or payments or what have you, as a result of what has happened with that. Because I feel like at some point we provide education, we materials and tools and all of the things to aid with documentation, to get our providers to understand the appropriateness of documentation depending on, the presentation of that patient. And so at some point in my mind, it's going to catch up, right? So they're going to say, oh, okay, I see, here's the sickest of the sickest patients. Let me make sure I document everything completely and fully so that the coding capture can be accurate, so that we can be reimbursed appropriately. So is that upcoding if they are doing what they're supposed to be doing with the patient that is actually presented in front of them? I say no, but this little article was real interesting to me. Mr. Jesse, did you have anything to...
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, well, first of all, upcoding is very clear. We know what upcoding is, and
right.
I don't think I just think that nothing is going to change without accountability, period. You can educate all day long, but if you don't hold people accountable for what you teach them, there's not, what's the incentive to change if there's no accountability? Right. And we hear it's the same conditions over and over and over and over and over that we hear all the time. And there's too many people who look at these charts because all this comes down to when you have upcoding. Upcoding is clearly is a breakdown in clinical validation. That's all it is. And coders do clinical validation as well as CDI, auditors. So how did it make it through all these people internally for it to get to a payer, for it to be audited, for the government to get this information? Like, I have never ever understood that, because it is the same conditions over and over and over. And acute, like when you mentioned, heart failure. I mean, basically, chronic heart failure is a CC, and acute heart failure, regardless of the type, is an MCC. So there are a lot of people who go into the hospital who have heart failure, but they have an exacerbation, which would be an acute on chronic. But there's plenty of clinical indicators to validate that condition. Like, did the person receive IV Lasix? Did they have an elevated BMP? Do they have any kind of peripheral edema? Do they have a cough? How did they respond to the diuretic? Or were they on daily weights? Were they on INO? Like, that's very basic. Like, that's not hard to look through a record and see.
But are people doing that? Well, that's the other
Well,
question.
I mean, well, actually, but I'm not even going to put it, but because if you, let's just say somebody sent a query to the doctor, if the doctor says it's acute, you can't say, oh, well, no, it's not, especially if you put all that in a query.
Right.
If the attending says this is what it is, that's what you have to.
It
So
is what it
that's
is.
how we go back to the accountability.
Right. Right. That's true. That's true. I just thought that article was really, really interesting. Um, like, okay, so now everybody upcoding, because, at some point you do get it right. Some folks are actually taking heed to the information, the teaching, using the tools. Coder, everybody's doing their job. The system is working, the machine is working, and now it's upcoding. Like, yeah, you're going to see an uptick. And again, I can't wait to see some studies. Hopefully somebody is doing some studies. Don't make me reach out to the government and get a grant and do some stuff. No, but somebody is doing some studies on how the change is in looking at medical decision making only, to level evaluation and management. Because I can't wait to see that. We talked about that one with the physician versus that coder and I'm like, it's clear if to your point, clinical validation, the information was there. He had documented everything, but because it didn't look the way, she wanted it to look in the manner in which she was accustomed to seeing it, then she didn't count this and she didn't do that. And so I'm would be real interested in to see what we look at from, or how we look now from what we did before we made those changes in evaluation and management. Y'all know evaluation management is my jam, so that would be really interesting to me. Mr. Jesse, do you have any church announcements?
Well, I just wanted to just mention briefly because I sent you an article or a post on LinkedIn where they talked about the same thing with risk adjustment. It's the same conditions over and over and over, except now they've added sepsis, and I'm like, I just don't understand. I really, well, it's greed. I'm not even going to act like I don't know what it is. It's greed because it all goes down to, everything comes down to clinical validity. If the person met the criteria for this condition or they didn't. And I don't understand, I have never understood why risk adjustment is as hard as it is. I've never understood it. And you keep having the same conditions over and over and over. So I don't know. I don't even know what the government is going to do, because to keep talking about the same 10 conditions, it's kind of ridiculous. I think that there needs to be some kind of like tiered fines.
Right, because at what point you keep saying, I mean, it's like your kids. I keep saying this.
Right.
I keep telling you. I don't know. And I don't know. And so it caused the question for me, a couple of things. Are those who are actually, and I hate to say it this way, but are those who are actually doing risk assessment prepared, and do they know what they're doing as it relates to that type of coding? I mean, we all know it's real easy to in some circles, it's real easy to pass a certification exam if you know how to pass a certification exam. But do you know what it takes to actually do the work of that type of coding and do it well? Every time I see the same things over and over again, I'm always asking, why are we still seeing this? What is happening? Um, does CDI get involved with risk adjustment at all, or is that separate?
We're supposed to, because we're supposed to also, and then in the 3M encoder, it
Mhm.
also tells you which condition is an HCC. So all you do is you just validate it in your when you're doing your review.
So if you are getting these types of tools that again assist you, I don't know. One thing in the back of my mind that I keep thinking through again, that is a barrier to, I think is a barrier to a lot of what's happening here, is are these productivity things,
That's
because
what I was getting ready to talk
it's
to you.
productivity. I feel like folks are so ingrained in, I got to get this out, I got to get this out, I got to have these numbers, I got to meet this whatever, that the quality of what they're doing is lacking or failing. And why the quality is not, well, should be more important than the quantity, um is mind-boggling to me.
Well, because the problem with productivity is the people who don't do the work make up the productivity. That's the problem. I have never, I will forever beat Inovalon's drum, but they're the only place I worked where my supervisor actually coded.
Mm.
And when and risk adjustment, not just have a certification. I mean, actually did charts.
Mm-hmm.
So I had other places where I since then, most of the places where I've worked, the person couldn't do what we had to do. And then when you try to bring certain issues, all they do is just parrot what their bosses tell them. So basically, there's somebody to advocate for the worker who actually does the work to tell them, well, this takes time. And especially, and on
Absolutely.
top of it, in addition to them making up the productivity, they also don't give you any protocol to work from. Like,
Mm.
if you want to say, well, you have to do 4 charts an hour, then you need to have a policy for everything. Like, what happens when you
Like
look
what
at this
happens when
review?
you
Yes,
do this, that, and
yes,
third, because then
yes,
that will help you in deciding and determining, okay, well,
yes,
this is moved on to somebody else and this don't impact
yes.
my productivity, then
Right,
it needs to be escalated or it needs to go to whatever.
right,
These are the ones that I'm kind of responsible for.
right.
Or let that policy dictate, okay, when you see these types of cases, then you know this amount of time may be necessary, or you may need to check this, you may need to check this, whatever. And then both folks are then held responsible or accountable for what that means. So you can say, okay, well, in my work queue this week or this month or whenever they may be checking you, these are the types of charts I had. Remember, our policy states that this, and a third needs to be checked, and that it takes that amount of time, so that there's this back and forth and
Right. And
fear of losing my position because I'm not hitting these productivity numbers, but I'm saving you on the back end because you're not getting these denials, you're not getting these cases that now need or not being paid. All of those things. I don't understand why folks don't think about that. I guess they feel like, well, we pay the people on the back end to handle all of that. You just get yourself out.
like for example, like with risk adjustment, like morbid obesity is an HCC, but obesity is not. So
Mm-hmm.
where I worked, they had a manual, they had a policy that if you have a diagnosis of morbid obesity, but the BMI does not support it, meaning the BMI is not 40 or more,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't capture it. So there's no debate. Like there's no, I don't have to, well, who do I ask or what do you do? Because that takes out time.
Yes.
And even because on this list, like the HCC list, they mention embolisms. Like you need to have a policy because I can never ever get this straight. But when somebody is I can't remember it. When somebody's diagnosed with an acute embolism, you get to code that as acute for, I want to say it's I know it's a 6. I don't know whether it's 6 weeks or 6 months, because you still get to code it as active for that amount of time, because they have to titrate their Coumadin based on the PT and INR to get to the optimal level for that person. So while they're figuring that out, you still get your quota. There's a time frame, but I can't remember it. But you have to have a policy to know, okay, well, and then you have to have the time to look through, okay, well, when was this person diagnosed? When was the acute embolism? So if you have a frame, like let's just say it's 6 weeks, you can count back. Okay, well, this diagnosis was made 7 weeks, so I can't capture it.
Right.
Like that's all about policy. But when you have people who can't do what you do, they can't give you a policy because they don't know.
Or even providing the appropriate education to their, but again, to the point,
But
if
you
they can't do what they do, they don't
exactly.
know. I answered my own question, right? But even when you're sitting down and having, um, even virtually, because most of us are working remotely, when you're having those dreaded team meetings or Zoom meetings or whatever type of meetings that you're having, and you're providing the information and education, those things need to be stressed. And on top of that, you know,
What education?
y'all not, they
If
don't.
you if your supervisor can't do what you do, yeah, there are team meetings, but there's no kind of education going on.
Why not? That
Well, because they can't, or it becomes a peer discussion. Well, what I do is I do this, or where I worked before we
So
did
why
this.
can't they have conversations? So you get your coding clinics, you get your, because that's all guidance, and you get those quarterly. So they don't have a discussion about, okay, this is what's happening, or we have some of the similar type of cases that were brought up in this quarter's coding clinic. Let's make sure that we're all on the same page, and let's take a look at that. Da 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 da. So it gives them actual time, because it's one thing to kind of pass the stuff. I remember back in the day they used to have the coding clinic and a piece of paper, and everybody has to initial that they looked at it. Whatever. You may not have time to do all of that anymore, especially with these productivity numbers that are going on. But this is a time where you can sit down and actually go through what the guidance tells you for those particular scenarios and situations that may be similar to something that you're doing, and have that. And it shouldn't be a peer-to-peer at that point, because you got the guidance who's giving you the information. Y'all can talk about what y'all did, but then understand with the guidance, now you may have to alter what it is, because you may not be doing something that's correct. So they don't even do that. What?
When it comes to guidance and coding clinics, that all comes down to policy. Because just because something is a coding clinic, okay, that guidance may have changed on such and such a date. For it may have changed. Let's just say third quarter, but you have to have a policy to say, okay, we'll move them effective this date for these dates of services. We're going to do it this way.
Right, but
That
this
is,
opens up the conversation to get to that.
but
So
I'm telling you, it doesn't happen. I have been plenty of places where it doesn't happen. You people are literally flying by the seat of their pants. As long as they meet their quota, they do not care. This is why we keep seeing the same things over and over and over. The same conditions. There's no change because the process is wrong.
that's unfortunate.
And
That's
then
unfortunate.
when you factor in, and this is also the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. When you factor in offshoring, that makes productivity even worse because now they have to show impact.
Hmm.
So it gets even worse because do you think they're going to fight for a policy? No.
Why? Why would I
Exactly.
do that?
Exactly.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, those
Oh,
were
and I
some
have
great.
another first announcement. I have my ICD-10 CM
That's
class
what I was waiting on, but okay, go ahead.
Tuesday, January 7th. You can. Oh, and I'll also have a new. My website was just updated. It is the new releases are active. It has a new look. So check it out,
Oh, we gotta go check it out.
thecodingnurse.com
Yes. All right. All right.
for more information.
Cool. We gotta check that out. All right. All right. All right. So today's cup. Look, you done already got my blood pressure up. Lord Jesus, I don't even have blood pressure problems, but y'all get me. Today's cup is filled with something every health information professional needs to understand, and it's revenue cycle analytics and its powerful impact on medical coding. When I tell you the hospitals are losing, well, we already know this because of this conversation, but I guess they're trying to gain some of that money that they're losing by upcoding. But never mind. I'd have gone on a whole different tangent. But anyway, when I tell you that hospitals are losing $262 billion annually due to inefficient revenue cycle management, you know this is a conversation that we need to have. Lord. So let me ask you, if you're watching, what is your biggest revenue cycle management or RCM challenge? Is it denials? Is it coding accuracy? Is it staff training? Is it technology? Hell, is it all of the above? You can put it in the chat. Y'all already know my pet peeve here. I should have said also productivity, but that's neither. That wasn't an option, but yeah, some of those things. So before we dive into analytics, let's make sure we're all speaking the same language. So revenue cycle management, or RCM as it's fondly referred to, is the financial bloodline of healthcare organizations. It is the entire journey from the moment a patient schedules an appointment until that final payment hits the account. So think of it as a 7-step dance. First, we have patient registration and scheduling, then financial clearance, followed by charge capture. Next comes our specialty, coding, and then, claim submission, then remittance processing, denial management, and finally patient collections. So here's what makes this interesting for us coding professionals. Every single one of these steps is impacted by how well we code. So let me give you some scenarios, or a real life example scenario. So you have a surgical practice that was consistently coding lesion removals with generic CPT codes instead of specific sized-based codes. Their initial denial rate was 23%. So when they started tracking analytics, they discovered this pattern was corrected and corrected their coding. Not only did their denial rate drop to 7%, but their average reimbursement per procedure increased by $115. Just the single coding improvement impacted every step of their revenue cycle, from charge capture to final payment. So, and Mr. Jesse, feel free to jump in at any time. Let's talk about revenue cycle analytics in general. So think of this as your GPS for navigating the complex world of healthcare finance. And there are 4 different types that I want to talk about. First is descriptive analytics, and this tells us what happened, like your denial rates and coding accuracy percentages. Diagnostic analytics helps us understand why it happened, why certain claims are being denied. Predictive analytics shows us what might happen, so which claims are likely to be denied based on patterns. And prescriptive analytics suggests what we should do about it. So, thinking about these types of analytics, and you should be able to think how it applies directly to the coding that you provide. You should think about how they directly apply to the revenue cycle at large. And again, how what you do as a medical coder is so vital to this process and so important to this process. Again, thinking about how this impacts your daily work. There was a hospital that was struggling with a 32% denial rate for orthopedic procedures. So using data analytics, they discovered 3 key insights. 1, 45% of the denials were due to medical necessity documentation gaps. 2, specific surgeons had higher denial rates for particular procedures. And 3, certain diagnosis code combinations were consistently being rejected. Again, by taking the time and doing some analytics, targeted specifically on documentation improvement and code combination alerts, this particular hospital reduced their denial rate to 12% in just 3 months. And we talk about, for health information professionals, the option of going into analytics and using that as a career. So think about especially if you're coming from coding and going into revenue cycle analytics. Think about what you bring to the table, because again, you kind of already have the insight, should know. Let me back up. Should know the guidance related to the codes that you may be seeing that are denied. You should know the guidance on what documentation is appropriate and accurate for these different types of cases that you may now be seeing that, okay, we're getting denied for those. If you're looking at, in this particular example, the patterns of particular providers, then that will help you, again, target specific type of education and training for those providers on those things to help be practiced overall in achieving and retaining the reimbursement that's due to them. Go ahead.
I just want to jump in because you said if you are a coder and you're transitioning into data analytics or working in data analytics, I would love to know how many people actually do that, because I don't think that's the pathway at all. I think most people who are in data analytics have no clue about coding, and I think that's part of the problem too. I just think that. Oh,
I mean, it would make life easier. It to me, it seems to be another pathway as we talk about different next steps in careers, from coding to, well, what else can I do? Well, you have data analytics, you have auditing, you have I don't know, informatics, you have other things that you could possibly jump into, but that foundation of coding is what sets you apart, I think, from somebody who might just be tracing on in trying to do it.
I totally agree, but that, I'm telling you, that's not that's not the way to be, is bumbling out here.
So how are they? I'm curious now. They just be like, oh, I like data and I want to get into the data stuff, and then
yeah, because they come from a totally different. The people who are like, when you look at any data analytics job, they don't mention coding at all, or even a knowledge of coding. That's not a requirement at all for a job.
So how are they helping? Or they just giving the figures and the facts, or giving the information, but not required to do the work of correction?
Well, me personally, I really believe that a lot of the data that they report is not really accurate. That's just me. Because what was it, last year or was it 2022? I spent the whole year learning SQL, Python. And what I realized then, I mean, that's when I really brought it home. That's when I really, really saw it. If you don't have the specific codes, there's a lot of typing that you have to do. There's a lot of code you have to put in. Like for example, if you wanted to find everybody in your crew, in your not your in your
What you doing?
hospital, that exactly in your hospital that has, let's just say, type 1 diabetes. Well, we know that type 1 diabetes has a code category of E10. But if you don't know that, you could just put in, you have to type in diabetes type 1 or diabetes, type 1 diabetes, then another You got to phrase it another way to pick up everything that
Yeah,
they
so your
capture.
data capture is
Right.
maybe off.
As opposed to just doing a where, one where statement, the code equals E10 dot asterisk. Then everything.
Everything with E10 would come through your.
But if you don't know that, or somebody doesn't tell you, how do you know?
You got a
Because
point.
because I'm telling, like, 2019 was when I had my epiphany. Because I'm sure I shared the story with you before. I was in training. The lady who was doing the EMR training was their HIT guru. She asked me, I think I might have been in like 2 or 3 days. She asked me towards the end of the day. They wanted her to run a report to see how many people there were, or how many clients they had that were on dialysis.
Mhm.
So she said, "How would I do that?" She asked me. So I said, "Oh, I said all you need are the codes for end stage renal and the dialysis status." So she said, "Well, do you know them?" I said, "Sure." I said, N18.6 and Z99.2. She ran a search, and in 5 minutes, she had a pivot table done and everything. But she didn't know, and nobody gave her any parameters. She asked me. That's when I really saw, when it comes to healthcare data, coding, knowledge of coding will set you apart. Matter of fact, one of my students that's going to take my class in January, that's the path, that's the route she wants to go.
Data
She
analytics.
and I'm like, because she's not a coder. She's a nurse, and she works in the IT department part time at a hospital, actually here in Philly. And that's where she wants to go. That's the direction she wants to go in. So I told her, I said, listen, if you learn coding, you will set yourself apart. I said, you learn coding, and she has she's an LPM, but she has a bachelor's. I said, learn coding, and I told her about the two courses that Ahima has. Plus, she has statistics in her college course. I said, you get your CHDA. I said, I promise you, you'll have a job by the end of the year.
Wow.
But you have people who don't tell them, who don't really know what they need to know. Like, they think, oh well, I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna learn Excel and I'm gonna learn SQL. Okay, that's gonna help if you want to work at like Boscov's. But if you're trying to work in health, if you're trying to do data analytics for healthcare, you need to know coding.
Yes,
But
and I stress
but
that you are absolutely correct in that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
but they'll never push it, because I'm telling you, like, you have no these so many people look down on coding, but they don't understand coding is the lifeline of
The
healthcare.
lifeline. This is the information.
You can't get, like the American Express, don't leave home without it. You can't get paid without it.
You better say that.
I like
You
that. You
better
can't
say
get paid
that.
without it. I'm gonna have
Oh
to
my God.
should
And
have saved that for the meeting after the meeting. Now I'm gonna have to trademark it. But go
okay.
ahead.
Right. So the other thing is, just to your point, and in my own personal career journey, having knowledge of coding, being certified in coding, took my compliance career to a whole other level. Folks in compliance not understanding the connection between why you're seeing some of the things that you're seeing and what to do about it, and the corrective action plans and all of the things, and not knowing the coding behind it and the guidance behind it, they was spinning. And I was like, oh my God, I'm stressed out. Da, da, da. I'm like, well, what is it? And it was just a matter of understanding what the codes were and what the conditions were. That now let's go to the guidance. There's guidance. There's always guidance. There's always some guidance. Let's go to the guidance. I mean, it was crazy to me. And then word on the street is folks are trying to devalue, oh, well, coding is not important in compliance. To who? I don't, that floors me. I don't understand that. I've heard in some circles that they're like, no, it's not important. And I don't know why anybody would say that, because, and I'm speaking just to I'm certified in healthcare compliance through HCCA. there's a whole coding segment in that. They're teaching you now, they're not teaching you to be a coder, but they're teaching you the importance of this information. This is a key piece of data that you need to have regardless of whether you are a coder or not. I mean, yeah, you will have a health information department or a revenue cycle department that you can tap into, but wouldn't you want to be able to speak that language for yourself? Wouldn't you want to be able to understand that maybe what you are getting is accurate? Otherwise, you could have a whole mess and you touting from the rooftops, hey, this is the problem, and you don't really even know that that may not necessarily be the problem. There may be some underlying things that if you are a coder and you understand the guidance and the guidelines, that can be helpful in providing the education and corrective action and all of the things. Same thing with my public health. I was in a class and everybody was talking about, trying to figure out, they were trying to gather some data on something. And I was like, so how are you going to get this data? What are you looking for? Oh, well, we don't know. We can go. And I was like, that's a code, sweetie. That's a diagnosis code. Be it a Z code, be it, for a particular condition, that's a code. Really? Yes. So that again gave me a leg up on, like, well, let's look for the code. What's the code? What's the code ranges? What are we talking about? What conditions are we talking about? And particularly with them looking at social determinants of health, and those are codes, which is why it's important to track that so that you can do this data analytic work on the back end much easier because it's all been captured on the front end. But coding, yeah, we got something here. When we jumped into this, we got something here. Didn't even know, but we got a whole lot here.
Exactly.
We got a whole lot here. And again, medical coding isn't just about signing numbers, assigning numbers to procedures or diagnoses or, alphanumeric digits now. It's the universal translator between clinical care and financial compensation. And
And then also, like, just think back to, you know the the DaVita opportunity earlier this year,
mhm,
that we imagine if that person who was trying to put something together, their data analytics person, imagine if they had known about coding, how easy they could have done it.
yeah, yeah. And again, I don't know why the people are not having these conversations with their staff and training them, but this makes this that much easier because now these are the codes, these are the areas that we're having problems, these are the things that we need to talk about and need to make sure that everybody is on the same page when we are coding these particular cases. I
But
don't.
it all comes back to people. The industry has been allowed to have no respect for coding, and it's just like Baby said on the Breakfast Club, put some respect on my name.
Alrighty.
They don't, like, they think, oh well, I have this degree, coding's not important. That's what they do, and not really realizing that if you took the time to learn, you could really set yourself up to have a career for the rest of your life and be impactful.
Absolutely.
But because I'm telling,
Absolutely.
like, I'm telling you, I saw it almost daily when I was working in inpatient CDI. Like, they think that, think they it's beneath them to them. Oh, that, well, the decoder will fix it. No, that's what you're supposed to do. If you're supposed to sign a DRG, by the time it gets to the code, it's supposed to be done. It's supposed to be right.
That's right. I don't know. So even if you're new and going into coding, don't let anybody diminish your shine. You sitting on a gold mine right there. Once you understand um, the steps to coding, and it's not, as you can see, it's not just about being able to see a diagnosis, open up a book, figure out the steps and code it. You need to understand how to apply that the guidance to a particular scenario, because every scenario is not the same. Every patient doesn't present the same, and you need to know, okay, well, if a patient has this and a patient has this, and doing that clinical validation work, doing all of those things, particularly in your inpatient coding, which is inpatient coding is no joke. Outpatient coding has some things that they got to wrestle with as well. But inpatient coding has a kind of a different level. Um, but coding is coding, and you inpatient, outpatient need to understand the rules of this game in order to be successful in playing this game.
Facts.
Because it's out here. It's out here. And we've talked about this several times about, the threat of AI. AI can't do what you they not like us.
Never. Never.
They're not like us.
Never.
They could try it. Somebody has to, and that somebody should be a coder. Let's start there, to help in the implementation of the tools that AI creates or are to help you do your job, but not be able to take what you know and your knowledge base and do your job. They not like us.
Well, the good thing I particularly love it because I know the importance of coding. And so when you talk about AI, like the more they talk, whenever I hear them talk about large language models, I love it. I love it because the longer you continue to talk about large language models, you're talking about words. You will never, ever, ever get coding based off of words, ever. It's too complex.
It's too complex.
So that's why I love it.
That's why we're going into ICD 11. That's why we go.
I'm just trying to work for about a good 10 more years. That's all. That's all. So that's why I'm telling, like, man, people don't understand code. When you understand coding, not just become a coder, when you understand coding, it can change your life.
Yes.
Now you can be one of those people that just, oh well, I'll just go and this is what the doctor said, this is what's documented. You can be mediocre and be anything. You could be the president of the United States and be mediocre.
Oh, see.
So but if you really, really apply what you've learned, it can set you apart.
It can. It can. And walk in it, head held high, knowing, you on to something. You have something here. What'd she say? Don't let anyone diminish your shine, no matter where you are in the revenue cycle. Absolutely.
That's right.
Because all the components work together. Everybody plays a role. Everybody plays a role. All right.
And
hopefully, go ahead.
Oh, and that's a good point because, like, even at the front desk, that front desk person that tells that person
can make or break.
"Look, your insurance card expired. Do you know how much money and time he or she has saved that organization? Right there.
Can make or break.
Or your benefit, you're not eligible. Do you know how much time and money that saves?
How much free services we would not give.
Exactly.
Heartache, hours on the phone, appeal work, arguments, all of the things. It's you save a lot just getting the information. And so, with that point being made, it's very, very critical that regardless where you sit in the revenue cycle, that you know your job, that somebody is that you know your job. You're trained well in the job that you're doing. And I hate, that folks have productivity looming over them that, they don't feel like they can really take the time to provide the optimal quality that is necessary for revenue cycle. But again, I mean, it keeps us employed. It keeps us in business. It keeps because they don't.
But that's what I have I had a student and she works really hard. I'm very, very proud of her and happy for her. Mm-hmm. She has her CPC and her CRC. Mm-hmm. And she had gotten a job through some agency like CSI. And I try to set the expectation. I'm like, listen, you can't get stressed out. I said there's a lot you're gonna learn, and those productivity, requirements are crazy. So she, worked on a project for a couple months. They let her go. She found another project. So I was telling her, I said, what I think, I said, I listen, I understand we all need to work, but I told her, I said, but you really need to work or look to find risk adjustment staff positions. That's because they're going to have a totally different requirement. They're going to have a totally different flow. You're going to still have productivity, but it's not as cut and dry as if you're working for like a third party company, because they have metrics they have to show their client to stay in their good graces and to keep that contract. And you
Right.
have much more leeway as an employee than you do as a contractor.
Right. That's true. People don't think about that.
No.
But then
But
even in the on the flip side, I guess, the entrepreneurship world, opportunities are right here. And if you have this knowledge base to be able to assist these practices, especially your smaller practices, because your larger hospital system, I'm sure they already got a whole department. But if you are able to assist these smaller practices and help show, why they're seeing these types of denials. I know for me, the first thing I do when I have a conversation with a potential client is, let's talk about your whole revenue cycle. What does that look like? Walk me through your revenue cycle. Because that right there can tell all the stories in the world, and then allow you to be able then to know how you can assist a particular client. Like, I don't
exactly.
know. So I just be calling the people. They say they got a problem and I want to help them, and we just go. You ain't seen their insurance card. Nobody has seen anything. What the what? So yeah, start with the revenue cycle. Gives you all the story that you need.
You know, but what I find so sad is you have some of these smaller practices. I mean, they literally are drowning
Drowning
and
because they
won't
don't know.
and don't even and then don't even reach out for help. And then sometimes when they do reach out to help, they're in these forms and people give them wrong information. It's just or they don't know how to help them.
Mm.
It's just I just wish there was a way that people who knew could connect with the people who really needed the help, because
Mm-hmm.
there a lot of these smaller practices are suffering in silence,
Mm.
and that's why when they get the offer to be bought out, they go, because it's it's stressful,
Mm.
and I understand it.
Yeah. And your wife may not be able to do all the things that need to be done in that
Most of the
practice.
time they can't.
Or that other wife may not be able to do all of the things. And it's okay. You gotta make an investment in your business um,
Definitely
in order to save it. So
hire
yeah.
somebody who knows and send your wife to the mall.
She'll probably be, well, thank
Much
you.
better off, yes. Much better off.
Right, right. Lordy, Lordy. All right. Well, y'all don't forget to, I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to put in the comments some of your biggest revenue cycle management challenges that you see. Um,
Oh,
I'll,
and before we go, like, so for anybody who wants to get into data analytics, let's just say we're talking to coders.
mhm.
You need to learn at least intermediate to advanced Excel. You need to learn intermediate SQL and beginner to intermediate Python, because you can, any project you want to do, you could really do all of it in all three.
Mhm.
It's, standalone, but there are things that you can do. And like, the thing about Excel is Excel has a lot of commands and a lot of functions. Um, SQL does too, but there are things you can do in Excel and SQL that are easier than Excel. Then there are things you can do in Python that are easier to do in Python than in SQL. So that's why having knowledge of all three will give you, tools to know, okay, well, this could be done in SQL much easier, or this could be done in Python much easier. And in Python, You can create, Excel files. You can create CSV. It's it's powerful.
Can you do that same thing in SQL as well?
Um, you can export it,
Hmm.
but you can't create it.
Okay.
But in Python, you can create the file format and the output that you want,
Oh, okay.
which
Okay.
is cool.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
everybody, well, especially those of us who've gone through, who've lived through decades of health information, everybody know how everybody loves an Excel spreadsheet. That's the bread and butter over there in health
Yeah,
information. You like, oh my God, if I see another spreadsheet, I swear I'm gonna
because and the main thing is you have to know, especially even in Excel, like that pivot table is just like the beginning. You can't do anything with data if you can't do a pivot table.
die.
But
Absolutely.
but overall, you also need to learn aggregation, and aggregation is nothing but math. You need to know how to
Mm-hmm.
count some, how to total something,
Mm-hmm.
how so that's aggregation. So you need, I'm telling you, like it's not as difficult as people think, but they make it like that because I think it's all part of gatekeeping. But for real,
Where's my
like
tea?
for real, it's not. And if you are a coder and you learn those skills, and of course, like if you haven't been to college, you need to take a statistics course because
Absolutely.
you have to know. You cannot do data analysis without
You
statistics.
need statistics. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
this is why I'm telling you, like AHIMA, just I don't know what they are thinking, but they have. As I told you, I took two courses this year. They were amazing. I'm like, they don't even know this. Like those two courses were a precursor for the CHDA exam. Especially if you know coding already, those two courses alone, you could take the CHDA exam, I believe, and pass it.
All right.
But I'm like, they're not even really marketing. I don't know what they're doing, but that's all right. I just pass on what I know.
And we appreciate you for it. Well, I know, and I think Dr. Jasmine be able to speak to that more, but I know, there's a lot of changes going on at AHEMA. And so hopefully that type of information will be able to be spread out to the masses. Again, just understanding how things tick and tie and how you can progress within your career based on, because I mean, you may love where you are, where you started, but if you're thinking about, well, what's the next step? There are plenty of next steps, but no, having that foundation of coding just allows you to excel in whatever step it is that you go into, because you have a whole extra skill set that is necessary that people may not even understand and realize is necessary.
Facts.
Hey, yay. All right, all right. So if you found value in today's episode, don't forget to share it with a colleague and leave us some comments. Let us know. Um, I was going to get to the teacups, but we'll get to that later. Your feedback helps us create content that serves our community better. Okay. Uh-oh, I took it away. So, thirsty for fresh perspectives on the healthcare revenue cycle? By becoming one of the PRNT sippers, you'll join a community of sharp minds who savor the complexities of the healthcare revenue cycle. And you see how we give you just give you a little bit of information, because we'll talk more in depth in the meeting after the meeting about all of the topics today. Like, we're the best place to go to get some of these courses. The best things to do, you get some of that additional insight, if you will, in our community. So again, why sip alone when you can steep in knowledge together? Come, let's spill the tea on industry insights. So here's what you can expect as a valued member of the PRNT Sippers: exclusive healthcare insights, gain access to in-depth articles, webinars, and resources covering the latest healthcare trends, compliance updates, and revenue cycle best practices. Early access. Be the first to receive expert insights and guides, ensuring you stay ahead in the ever-evolving healthcare industry. Personalized support. Enjoy direct access to our team of experts for guidance and medical coding compliance, issues, and revenue cycle management. We're here to answer your questions and support your professional growth. And then my personal favorite, the community connection. So join a private community of healthcare professionals where you can network, share experiences, come up with solutions, and collaborate on, again, finding those solutions, common solutions to common challenges. So by supporting us, you're not only advancing your healthcare knowledge and career, but also contributing to the success of the Professional Reimbursement Network, LLC, which is a resource that empowers healthcare professionals like you to thrive in their roles, goals, and dreams. So thank you for considering becoming a member of the PRNT Sippers. And again, for the cost of about, 2 cups of tea, you can join the community. Check out the link in the description of the video. Your support means the world to us, and we look forward to helping you excel in the world of health information and healthcare revenue cycle. Again, the link is in the video, or you can go to bit.ly/the PRNT Sippers for more information. Now, before we sign off, I've got a special request for all of you amazing viewers out there. If you found this episode helpful, don't keep it to yourself. Share the knowledge with your colleagues by hitting that share button. And hey, why not subscribe to our channel while you're at it? That way, you'll never miss a drop of our health information, compliance, revenue cycle, and medical coding tea. So if you have any thoughts or questions or experiences you want to share about today's topic, well, we'd love to hear from you. So drop a comment below. And let's keep the conversation brewing. If you enjoyed this episode, again, give it a thumbs up as you're going out. It helps more healthcare professionals find out about our content. And then also, don't forget to check out the Coding Nurse channel on YouTube and the new and improved and revamped The Coding Nurse website as well. So, Mr. Jesse, do you have any closing thoughts or anything you want to bring to the table as we're winding down the end of this year? Yes.
Exactly. I was going to say, like, this is
Look, it just hit me. Like, oh wait,
our last
so maybe
Saturday of the year. So
right. This is it. It's
we
been a
need to
wild,
give
wild
a
ride.
whole new
It's been a
year,
wild,
yeah.
wild ride. And so maybe we'll do, I guess, next Saturday, like the year in review and talk about some of the things, pet peeves, and what we're gonna do, hopefully to change and advance and move forward.
Hey, Samantha, you got
Hey,
a shout.
Samantha, welcome. Okay. Any other things you want to mention?
Just that I always say it. I just thank you for creating this space because there's so much information. I mean, HIM changed the whole trajectory of my life. And if it can do it for me, it can do it for anybody else. But it's just, people just need access to the right information, and there's not enough good, sound information out here. You have people who are like spinning, and they don't even realize how bad they're spinning because there's nobody to really help them get on the right track. And I really, really hope that people find value, because I know we do provide value. I just hope that they can receive it.
Yeah, I hope you're getting that tea is being spilled every Saturday morning because we spilling it. Well, again, this has been a great session. See you tea sippers in a few minutes, 10:15 a.m. Remember, we have the meeting after the meeting. So remember, be safe, be kind. Oh, it's the end of the year. Have a great happy new year. And don't wish for it, work for it. Until next time, take care. Have a great weekend. Have a great happy new year and all of the things. Oh, all right, Samantha. Well, stay tuned. Stay tuned.
That's
Stay
right.
tuned. Reach out to us. We'll definitely be able to assist you in that endeavor.
Definitely. This is the best place to be.
This is the best place to be. All right. See you later.